let's get into our course content. We're going to start with what is going to be on Exam 1. If we take a look at this slide, Exam 1 content, we're going to start with an introduction to operations and give you some basic definitions and information you need to get started. And we're also going to add in a little bit of historical perspective so that you understand where we are now and how we got here with operations. We're going to take a look at providing goods and services and then decision making. We're going to take a look at product quality development to make sure that we have a quality product in both service and productions. We're going to take a look at forecasting, a lot of math there. I take it step by step, so we'll break it down each piece there. Location planning and logistics, some work measurement and time standards, which a little bit's here and we're going to have more in for the second exam, and the process and facility selection. So this is the information for test 1. And let's begin. We're looking here at an introduction to operations. And when we take a look at our syllabus, this right here is taking a look at chapter 1. So read your textbook and then listen to the lectures, take notes on both. Introductions to operations. We're going to be covering the 3 primary functions of business. What is operations management, with giving both a definition and a model. The 3 elements of value creation, the classification of operations, both goods and services, the types of manufacturing operations that are there, varying levels of uncertainty and control that's used, and we're going to talk about the value ratio. Very important topic here that I think actually covers everything within this class, what we want to shoot for, and what operation managers need, what's important to them. So if we start out with the 3 primary functions of business, start off with the finance function. Finance function, it encompasses obtaining the company's funds in the best way and guiding the wise use of those funds. We're talking about the money here, folks. This is the money. The finance function takes a look at how we can get the money in and how we can best use the money to make our operations work. So we need it for facilities, our buildings, the equipment, things that are in the building, salaries to pay people because not everybody volunteers, supplies that we might need, operating expenses for lights, for electricity, for heat, for air conditioning, to run the machines. All of these things are in there actually for buying your raw materials for that. The second function is our marketing function. It involves the developing and maintaining demand for a company's goods or services. Marketing identifies who our customers are. It helps understand the needs, the wants of our customers. You're going to hear me say this constantly and you're going to hate it by the end of this class, but your needs, your wants mean nothing. It is important to know your customers' needs and wants. Those are what we need to take a look at. We need to educate our customers about our company, about our product, about our service, so that they know what they want to buy and why they want to buy our products or service from us and not somebody else. So that deals with convincing our customers to do business with us and our company instead of doing business with somebody else. That's what the marketing function is taking a look at. The third function is the operations functions, which provides service to customers and produces any goods the company makes. This is what this class mainly deals with and what we're going to be taking a look at for the rest of this course. Now, you might say, what about accounting? What about economics? Where are those? Well, accounting is across the board. The finance function, the marketing function, the operations functions all use accounting within them. So it's not a separate function of business, but it's within these 3. And the same with economics. It is within the 3 functions taking a look at how and where the economy is, where in the product life cycle you are, where is the gross domestic product, how much are people buying, what's the life cycle. All of these are economic issues that are in there that deals with our especially marketing and operations side of the house. So we have 3 basic functions: finance, marketing, and operations. And we are going to take a look here in this class mostly about the operations function. We'll bring in a little bit how the marketing function will work with it and finance getting the money that we need here and there. So what is operations management? It's a set of activities dedicated to the transformation of inputs into outputs of a greater value. So we have an input, our raw materials. We have some type of transformation or manipulation to get our output. What is our finished product? So this is what we are taking a look at here. So what would our inputs be? Our inputs are capital. It's the money coming in. It's labor. It's information. It's knowledge that you know to do something. The education, operations and education, and just teaching this class is a transformation of knowledge from me to you. So it's that information is my raw material that I am somehow manipulating to get to you so that you understand what it is and you learn this information. It's supplies. So it could be raw materials, it could be paper, it could be pens, pencils, could be the use of recording equipment, recording this for online use. It's energy. It's that electricity that we need to run the lights, to run the computers, to run machinery, people's energy to work, and the true infrastructure that we have with the buildings, the roadways. All of those is part of the resources. The transformation is our actual operation. It's assembly of products. Extraction. If you're in the medical field, you can be drawing blood and extracting platelets. Transportation of goods from one place to another. Cultivation, fabrication, manipulation. All of these work in the transformation of that raw material or input going to the output. The output is a good, the services, employment, and believe it or not, it's even pollution. Not all output is good, and we need to remember that we oftentimes have byproducts as an output, that when we talk about sustainability in here, we can talk about what happens with those outputs that hopefully isn't pollution or we can turn into something good. It's not just a waste. Value added. The difference between the total value of the outputs and the total value of the inputs associated with an operation. How much value is added is what this is taking a look at. The three elements of value creation. We're taking a look at sustainability, productivity, and responsibility, and how these three go together to create that value added, that value creation. So if we start by looking at productivity, it is a measurement of value creation calculated as a ratio of the values of input to output, or it's output over input is a simple way to put it. So what's our output divided by our input? Sustainability is a degree to which activity with immediate benefit does not incur greater cost in the long term. In other words, are we not depleting resources? Are we making something that's recyclable or reusable? What's the cost for the long term? And responsibility is an obligation to perform. We're talking here about the ethics, the principles governing conflict, delineating good from bad. Responsibility is very important. You don't want to poison your waterways, poison the air around you. You want to make sure that you are being ethically responsible to not only the environment, to the people you're working with, to your customers, to your employees, to the surrounding area around where you're working. Classifications of operations. Operations literally fall into two classifications: manufacturing or services. Manufacturing converts a tangible raw material into a tangible product in a facility called a plant or a factory where the customer is not present. What does tangible mean? Touchable. So we're looking at things that we are producing that are touchable, that we can see, we can touch. And it's usually that the customer will not be present. Service deals with all else. So if a customer is present, it's usually a type of service industry. So purchasing clothing or items, going to Walmart is actually a service industry. The people who produce the products for Walmart are manufacturers. Education is a service industry. I used to work in the mental health field, and I ran programs there, in-home services type programs, family preservation style counseling. And I would go out to people's home and do counseling in their homes. It was a service type atmosphere. And we'll use those as an example later on. Service operations have two different types of characteristics. The first is the degree of customization, which can be standard or customized. The second is the degree of complexity, which can be low or high. When we take a look at standardization versus customization, we're taking a look at radio, television, car rentals, dry cleaning, airlines. Where customized would be your physicians, your beauty, your hair care. Taking a look at auto repair or appliance repair, which we're looking at a specific item that has to be repaired. Moving companies, people need, people have different things that need to be packed up and moved. Restaurants, what are you going to eat? These are more customized. But we can also take a look at how complex things are. Complexities, high or low. High complexity is your physicians, your attorneys, your dentist. High complexity is schools. It is symphony orchestras, people who are trained to do specific items. Lower complexity is restaurants, taxi service, car washes, car rentals, storage areas, trash collections, painters. These people do not need as much education and background in certain areas, therefore the complexity is lower. So service operations are characterized between customization and complexity. When we take a look at comparing goods versus service operations, we're taking a look at different items. Tangible products versus intangibles. Your goods have a tangible product. Intangible products is for your service. Less customer contact for operations, yet service has for goods operations, but there's more customer contact for service operations. There is less reliance on specialized equipment, where there's more reliance on specialized equipment in goods operations and a less reliance on skilled labor for goods, but you need skills in certain areas for service. So we're looking at differences there. So if we take a look at manufacturing, we take a look at complexity versus customization on service. What about manufacturing? Well, we take a look at either make or made to stock items. Items that are completed and placed in stock before customer order is received. This is considered off-the-shelf shipping. You're going to produce items, stockpile them, send them out, and people will buy them as needed. Reams of paper, pens, pencils, toilet paper, those type of items. Make to order is the other side, where you complete your end item, your finished good, after a customer order has been received. These orders are usually unique and custom designed, and often you have to wait to receive them because you need to place that order and wait for it to get to you. Make to stock is considered a push item. You're going to push it through the system. You're going to make it not knowing truly how much you need because you don't know the number of orders you have or what people are ordering. So you're going to push it through. Or make to order is a pull system because it is the customer's telling you, I want this. So they're pulling, helping you know what to produce. There's also assemble to order. Assemble to order produces standard designs with optional models ahead of time and then assembles them as per the customer's order. So you have things that are put together, sort of like when you order a car. Do you want a standard or an automatic? Manual transmission or automatic. They have both ready just to put together. What color do you want? We have the car ready. We just have to do the painting on that. So we're looking at this type of things. They're using forecast methods to forecast the orders that they need. They're producing these sub-assemblies and they have it already. And when the customer order comes in, they put it together and it's ready to go. With these, you can have a job shop. Job shops usually contracts out make-to-order custom products. Therefore, their volume is very low. They need to be flexible because they're making a variety of things depending on what the customer is ordering. The general purpose production equipment is needed and employees with a broad range of skills. They have a high variety and low volume for manufacturing. Compare this to repetitive manufacturing, also known as a production line or repetitive production. You're making a high volume of exactly the same item. The production equipment is very specific and it's going to do cycle after cycle after cycle of the same product. Therefore, there's very little flexibility needed and they're able to use a higher amount of automation because it is repetitive, doing the same thing over and over again. Batch manufacturing has some type of intermediate amount of products. They have a variety in there and it produces intermediate volume of each. Production equipment must be capable of performing a variety of tasks, not as many as a job shop, but still a greater variety, and must have the ability to change back and forth quickly. This is your setup time. How long does it take and what's the cost to set up? They have to be cheap setups and they have to be able to change quickly because we're making smaller batches of things, and so we have to be able to change the equipment quickly to make a different product. Process industries are considered repetitive production operations, but they're doing a blend. Instead of individual items, they're taking a look at bulk items, something that is done in tons. Flour mills, cement mills, chemical companies, Eastman Chemical is a process industry, so they're not making individual units, but they're making this bulk amount of units. A project is usually longer in duration, and it's not necessarily done in factory, such as building bridges, roads, and a building, and special machinery is a lot of times needed for all of this. The picture that is used here is actually showing you how they build bridges. And it's kind of cool because it's sort of a form that's laid out and it's slid over and in so that they can do this. So it's like half on part that's done and half on part that's not done. I watched it up in Pennsylvania on the Pennsylvania Turnpike between Carlisle, Pennsylvania and Harrisburg, the capital. They built a new bridge not too long ago, and I watched them using this machinery as I was driving up and through there quite often. And it's kind of neat to watch. So again, some differences between our service and manufacturing. Productivity is more easily measured in manufacturing than in service. In manufacturing, you can see I've done a ton of flour. I have done 500 chairs. I've made 1,000 pencils. We can take a look and say tangible object. How do we do that in service? It's a little bit harder to define productivity. For these classes, we take a look at how many service hours or how many teaching hours. So if it's a 3-credit hour class and you have 30 students, that's 90 quality hours that are being produced here, because 3 hours per 30 students. So 3 times 30. It's done a little bit differently. When I did counseling, we took a look at billable hours. So looking at the billable hours, we were looking at what hours was a clinician who was in the clinic billing. So if you have 7 one-hour slots, then you had, they were usually a 50-minute hour with 10 minutes for doing paperwork. So you had 7 hours that you could bill. But I worked outside and did a lot of things that were not billable. So we had to take a look at what were my billable hours versus non-billable hours to take a look at the service that I was providing outside of the clinic and the people that worked with me. And that was a little bit harder to define. And a lot of the people I worked with had a very hard time with it because I could put in a 10-hour day and only have 2 billable hours because I was networking with other places and they were billing the hours, so I wasn't able to. It's a lot harder to look at the service industry and create productivity, but it's very important to do so. Quality standards are more difficult to establish, and product quality is more difficult to evaluate in service. What is good service? It's hard to answer. Years ago, the professor who taught me this class talked about being served dinner. He went out to a restaurant, was seated, and the guy sitting at the next table was seated about the exact same time. Both ordered drinks, a salad, a steak, and a baked potato. Drinks were served up quickly, and the salad came out about the same time for both tables. He's eating his salad, the guy at the table next to him is eating their salad, both about halfway finished. And the steak and potato comes out. Out of the guy's mouth at the table next to him, my professor heard him say, "What great service. My meal's here." At the same time, he was thinking, what lousy service. I'm still eating my salad, this crisp lettuce, perfectly, not too cold, not too warm, it's not wilted, perfect amount of dressing, the croutons, everything's just great. If I continue eating this salad, my steak and my potato are going to get cold. If I put the salad aside, my lettuce is going to wilt, and I'm not really going to want to finish it later. So what lousy service and timing where the guy at the table next to him thought it was wonderful. So service quality is really a perception. And we need to figure out what the customer wants for that. Remember that, because we're going to get to that in just a minute to talk about that some more. Manufacturing operations seldom see consumer of the product. They finish it in a factory, it gets shipped out. they don't know what the feedback is. They need to go to their marketing personnel to know that. They need to hear someone else tell them how good it's doing. Because remember, your wants, your needs do not matter. It's your customers' wants and needs that matter. So they have a harder time. More service professionals and service people who work in the service industries usually get that feedback a lot quicker. They're able to gauge what clients and customers need. Manufacturing operations can accumulate or decrease inventory of finished products. You can stock toilet paper. You can stock, if something is not going to go bad, you can stockpile that. Think about a restaurant in that side of the service industry, stockpiling eggs. You want to open up a restaurant. You want to open it up on January 1st. You figure you're going to serve 10,000 over easy eggs. Let's start making them January 1st. If you want over easy eggs, you'll probably get them on January 1st. I'm going to stockpile them though. How many of you are going to eat those eggs January 15th? What about October 15th? What about in December? You don't want the eggs that they made in January? It's harder to stockpile. So we have to take a look at those types of differences. So the value ratio. Remember I told you before that this is one of the most important concepts you're going to learn because the value ratio is quality over costs. Why those quotation marks? Those quotation marks are very important because both of them are perceptions. It's not a true formula. It's not a true fraction here because quality talks about customer satisfaction. What is the desirability of the goods and what is your perception of the goods? Your costs are all your burdens. Monetary, traffic, parking, good, bad service, repair, wait times, all of those ideas. So when you take a look at quality, what is the perception of the customer? What does your customer think about that? Looking at the quality of the service in the example I just gave with my professor, he thought that having the meal out, the main course out as quickly as possible was poor service because he wanted to enjoy his salad. He was paying for it. The guy at the table next to him thought it was excellent service because he wanted the meal out quickly. So we're looking at this. I used to work at Cracker Barrel. I was a server at Cracker Barrel for about 3.5 years. And I was amazed at people who would come Mother's Day and wait 2.5 hours for a table at Cracker Barrel. Now the food's good, but I'm not waiting 2.5 hours anywhere for a table. And if I have to wait even half that time, there better be a bar that I can sit down and at least have a drink, not walking around a little store. So what's the wait period? What's the time? What's the burdens? Here in Johnson City, we have a Walmart in North Johnson City off of State of Franklin. And I hate the Walmart there. I don't like the parking lot. I don't like trying to get into that Walmart. I don't like parking there, getting out of it. The traffic flow, to me, it doesn't work well. When I lived in South Johnson City, I drove 20 minutes, 30 minutes up to Kingsport to go to Walmart because that was my favorite Walmart. I liked the traffic flow there. I liked the way the parking lot was set up. It was easy in, easy out. So that 20, 30-minute drive was no big deal to me, where going 10 minutes down the road and trying to get into the parking lot at the one in North Johnson City was a hassle. At that point, there was not a Walmart on Market Street, so I couldn't go out to that one. So you take a look at these perceptions of people on what they think. Just the title of it, the Nova, was a car they tried to market in Mexico. Anybody speak Spanish? Nova. It means it does not go. What's the perception of the car? They wondered why it didn't sell. So we want to hit this value ratio so that the quality is a level of quality with the cost that the customer is willing to spend, the time, the money, etc. So we're looking at how important those perceptions are with both quality and cost. Very important concept because we always want to hit the correct value ratio. What do operation managers need? Can just anybody be an operations manager? No, not really. Because the first thing you need is technical competence. You need to understand the technology with which the production system works. You need to understand how the system works. You do not have to be the expert in it. You don't have to be the repair person. You don't have to know everything. But you have to have adequate knowledge of the work you're going to manage. You have to know what's happening, how this work is done. But you also have to have a behavioral competency, the ability to work with other people. Go back to kindergarten. When you were in kindergarten, on your report card, and it said, plays well with others, did you get an excellent or did you get needs work? If your behavioral competency is needs work, you might not be good at managing other people. You want to take a look at that. You want to be able to work with other people. You don't have to be best friends with the people you work with, but you have to have a relationship with them to be able to work with them. And that type of relationship deals with behavioral competencies. Decisions and activities of operation managers. Operation managers do a lot of things. They don't just oversee what you think as operations. They start with planning. What is the plan? What are they working on? What do they need to take a look at? They need to plan who does what job where. They need to figure out what order it is going to be done in. So planning and organizing are working together, controlling how everything moves through that system, and directing people, directing the flow that things are working. Motivation. You need to motivate the people you work with. If you're not motivating the people you work with, that's back with behavioral competencies. How well are you working with others? You need to do that. You need to coordinate throughout the whole system. You need to train and develop your personnel. People are not ready to just start a job. They need some type of training. And as things change, they need those advanced trainings. So take a look at how you can help your people develop into better personnel, that they're better able to do the job. What skills can you help them enhance? What training and development can you give?